Hello, Austin.
Hello, Lynn. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Are you at work or at home?
No, I'm at home.
Okay, got it.
Hopefully some others join us.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be good.
Yeah.
I know that Nancy's won't be here tonight. Hi, Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Lynn. Let's
How are
see.
you?
Good. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes, we see the top of your head. It's very
Right.
attractive.
Well, it's more attractive from the front than the back, I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay. I got that.
All right, so I moved my camera. So
Okay.
now you get me full
The whole
face
view.
head on.
Oh, good. Great. Got it.
Josh, how are you? Austin, how are you?
Doing well, Paul. Thank you. How are you?
Good. I got confused here because Josh Antrim is on by name.
I think he's on here. I think he's joined us tonight.
Good.
Oh, that's nice. Good. By any chance, before we call this meeting to order, do we have any minutes coming in anytime?
Now, I haven't heard from Kristen, and I mean, I'm at a loss. I kind of threw my hands up at this last year and
Yeah.
thought she was covering it, and she hasn't. So I don't know what we should do, but we need to do
Well,
something.
yeah, we do need to do something. And I have notes that I've taken from each of these meetings, but
You're much better than I am. I can't do that.
what do you mean? What do you mean? You can't talk and take notes at the same time?
I can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I get it. I get it. I'm just turning off the radio here and getting some more paper.
Okay. So Ellen is coming on, and somebody named iPhone is coming on.
Oh, we
We
always
don't know
love
who-
to hear from iPhone.
Let's ask that person to unmute and identify him or herself.
iPhone, can you tell us who you are?
It's Aldrich.
Oh,
Again,
great.
okay.
Hey, Aldrich, good to see you or hear you.
Thank you, as well as you.
Okay. Okay. Hi, Ellen.
Hi.
Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Who's the fifth?
Me. No, wait. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I've got just 4. I
Four,
really
yeah.
want 5.
Do we need 5?
Yes.
Oh,
I sent Dave Wilson and Jim Dolan a note earlier today. Has anyone seen Dave recently? I have not seen him on the other committee that I'm on, and I'm a little concerned.
oh,
No?
I don't know.
Austin, you know everybody in town. What's going on?
I feel like I've seen him fairly recently, but
Oh, good. I
maybe
want him
not
to
on-
be I want him to be healthy and well. He can stiff us, but I want him to be well.
I'll keep an eye out for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put the arm on him. Well, gosh. I do not have Jim Dolan's cell phone number. Does anyone by any chance? And whose screen is that's up?
That's mine. That's your grid, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's
Okay.
nothing. It's this magnificent scene.
Oh,
We want to know what it is.
oh, you're talking about
Yeah,
that's a cistern in Spain somewhere. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes,
Okay, now I
yes,
don't
I do see the
understand.
reflection.
Yeah, but I don't understand why it isn't showing what I think it's showing. Let's try that again. Oh dear, screen share, yes. And supposed to be this one. No, try this one. Okay, now share. Is that your
Better.
grid?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes, yes, that is the grid.
Okay.
I can call this meeting to order, but I do so without having a quorum.
Oh. What's the
Well,
rule? What's the rule there, Lynn?
Ellen, did you want to speak?
The only thing I was going to say was, is it okay as long as there are no decisions being made?
I think we do have a quorum with 4, don't we? Aren't there only 7 committee members?
You know, I have trouble counting my fingers. I think you're right.
Oh, okay. I thought the confusion was between a majority of those named members and a majority of the members that we could have. So if you're saying it's the actual number of members that we do have, then yes, we are a
Yeah.
quorum.
It's the members that we do have. And thank you,
Okay.
Austin. A cool head once again in the room. So officially, I call this meeting to order at, oh, I don't know, 7:06 on Tuesday, the 21st of February. This is the Community Preservation Committee meeting. We invite the public to join us. We will invite their questions and comments in the chat. And this is being conducted according to the open meeting law. And here we are. Let's proceed. I did just ask if we have minutes from past meetings, and we are once again without minutes. So I do think that we have to get some real clarity on what is Kristen Taylor is able to offer us. I know that these meetings are recorded and she has transcribed them before, but it is imperative that we actually catch up with minutes. If she's unable to do so, I do have the notes from the past meetings that I've recorded. And I would endeavor to make those minutes, but I won't be happy about it. No,
No,
I
you
won't be
won't.
happy about it at all. So I'm hoping that she will be able to, I mean, she's been out and she's been busy, so I don't want to presume on her too
Right.
much,
Right.
but we'll have to see what we can come to on this. Short of that, I think that we should move along with our agenda. Let me say that at our last meeting, we had concluded it with the desire to review our last 2 grant applications. Both from the town of Nahant, one, the rights of way, which is continued documentation and recovery for $20,000, and the other one from the town clerk, Diane Dunphy, for records retention and conservation for $25,000. I had invited both Tony and Diane to this meeting. Diane had a previous conflict. I did have a conversation with hers, and I'm able to talk about some of the things I learned from that conversation. And she is willing to join us next Tuesday if we have any pending questions for her. I think I've talked long enough to see if Tony is on the line. Is Tony
I
here?
am.
Oh, excellent.
I'm
Perfect, Tony.
I'm on the cell phone.
Okay.
Tony,
yeah,
are you
that-
9682?
Yes.
Okay, I
Okay.
think you're audio challenged here. Your audio is not so good.
I'm sorry. Is it better if I
Yeah, that's a
can hear me
little
better this?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Tell me you were on school vacation, Tony.
I'm not. I am. I wasn't. I was in the city today,
Oh,
but I was. I am downstairs in my parents' house right now, actually. It's my mother's
Okay.
birthday, so
Oh, no.
I am
Oh,
stepping away.
you are a hero. So we will let you get you in and out as quickly as possible. Before we go into the rights of way discussion, Tony, I don't know if you saw my email regarding
I did.
the Flash Road multi-purpose application as well as the Lodge Park. We do want to just understand what Chapter 149 procurement means to those budgets. I think the committee's sentiment is that we want to make sure there's adequate funding. As the applicants, I think we're unaware of what public procurement would mean to their budgets. So do you have anything to offer on that?
Well, for the biggest impact on the budget is outside of procurement is the requirement to pay prevailing wage.
Yes, I
for any-
understand. Yeah.
So, that certainly could impact estimated budgets if it wasn't accounted for. I still haven't gotten final numbers on all of the costs associated with, or that were included in the application for pickleball. And I haven't looked at the application for Lodge Park. However, I think you'll have to remind me exactly what their application was seeking to do. A lot of the recommendations from the study that was previously conducted, was more about management of the property, some landscape, maybe landscape architectural services.
Well,
Maybe
so
some-
I can jump in here because I have the benefit of seeing the application, which you may not. So the Lodge Park request had just over 9,700 for signage, another $10,000 for native plants, and $5,000 for trail work. So I think the question, and I don't want to put you on the spot tonight because I can tell that you're still thinking this through, but we will be looking to you for recommendations as to how much these grant requests should increase given the requirement for procurement and prevailing rates. Let's just put it like that.
All right.
Okay?
Uh,
And so,
Yeah,
So-
and I'm happy to help in that regard.
yeah, okay.
Ultimately, the final numbers, if a a bid process is required, which I don't think any of these are going to require that. I think for the most part, we'll be using chapter 30B, section 5, where
Okay.
if it's under $10,000, it's sound business practices. If it's between $10,000 and $50,000, we're soliciting 3 written quotes
Mhm.
with a scope of work. So I don't think either project is going to require a massive procurement process. But I
Okay.
will review those numbers and provide you some feedback if I think that they need to increase at all.
Yep, that's exactly what we're asking for. So let's just jump into your grant application for the rights of way. I will remind committee members that we have actually seen these applications on multiple occasions. I think there's probably, in my table, I think I noted how much. Oh, maybe I
Yeah,
didn't.
you said fiscal year 10 and 13.
Yes, we had in fiscal year 2010 and 13, we had granted amounts of money which are still in the account towards the rights of way studies and analysis. So now we've got another application for $20,000.
Didn't we have an application, or wasn't there a discussion about this about 2 years ago?
Possibly. But we haven't funded anything recently. I think we discussed the
Right.
fact that there was pending money to be spent.
Okay.
So Tony, why more? When you already have money?
So as you mentioned, there is existing unspent funds. Without looking at the language that authorized those funds, it's hard to say how limited or expansive they can be. I believe that in the past, when we discussed them, they were targeted towards rights of ways and trail improvements, whether that be signage or planting or any other type of element related to improving the trail or the right of way.
I can just jump in. I can just jump in because I actually was involved with these, and these were mainly the recording and the analysis rather than any actual work on them in terms of opening them up or making them available to the public. That's my recollection.
I know there's quite a few, there's a little bit of unspent in the FY10 article. There's a little unspent in the FY13 article. I think there was a little unspent in another article in a subsequent year. I'd like to look, take another look at that language. I believe we were holding on to those to use for actual physical improvements to the ways. But Lynn, I trust your memory on it better, more than mine. So I'll have to take another look. But this application is intended for the work that you just described: title research, potentially some on-the-ground surveying. Mostly, if you read the application, I tried to explain. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little. I tried to explain, how the process works. We first do title research. We second follow that up with on-site spot surveying, and then third, make improvements, if possible, if necessary. Each right-of-way, each trail is very unique in that third phase. Little Nahant, pretty much everything in Little Nahant is in the third phase, where it's already been title research, it's already had surveys, and now we're working through the process of each individual one and what type of improvements we can make. Big Nahant hasn't really made a lot of progress in either phase one or phase two. I've seen some documents in the past where the town, Big Nahant was divided into multiple sections, and the plan, it seemed like in the past, was to go section by section, in that three-phase process. So what we thought we would apply for is to kind of pick up where that was left off and get title research done on rights of ways in Big Nahant. And if there's additional funding available, maybe start with, section by section with some spot surveying. And if the budget allowed for the creation of a GIS layer or some sort of interactive, user-friendly page on our website so that residents are aware where the accessible right of ways exist in our town. And as we complete upgrades to more and more right of ways, we can update that public facing webpage.
Thank you, Tony. Questions from the committee?
Tony, I think that's an excellent plan. Just refresh my memory in terms of 2 stages. Little Nahant has finished the analysis of rights of way based on property lines. Is that correct?
Correct. I can say for sure that all of the coastal rights of ways have in Little Nahant have
Yep.
gone through the second phase of spot surveying, and even a butter notice that the right of ways have been identified and that the town could pursue action to open the access to them.
Yeah.
The internal rights of ways, that don't access the coastline, I believe in Little Nahant were surveyed as well. And we've made some progress as far as phase 3 goes. There's a right of way on Wilson Road that is currently being reconstructed by the property owner, who was actually going through a rebuild of the home there. And so when it came through the building permit process, we met with the resident and explained to him the issue with the right of way there, and negotiated a resolution. So that's underway. There's a right of way at the very tip of Little Nahant where Wilson Road and Little Nahant Road meet, and it's somewhat stuck in some litigation proceeding. And then there's a right of way kind of at the bottom of where Little Nahant Road. If you come off Nahant Road and you go up the hill, turn left and then turn right to start going down the hill, right in front of you, I forget what road that is. There's a right of way there that there's some at the end of that right of way. It's actually pretty accessible, but the end of that right of way, there's some fence improvements that need to occur, and we're in the process of doing that.
Right. Let me ask you. My inclination here, and I'm not telling you how to run the show here, and I presume you're getting input from the Planning Commission, aren't you? Planning Committee.
They were, I believe they initiated
Yeah,
Yes.
right,
That's right.
right.
all of, really, I came in at the end of 2018. Actually, the previous town administrator had already sent letters to the abutters of the coastal right-of-ways in Little Nahant.
Okay.
We reissued those letters and met with abutters.
Okay.
And
what I
then-
was going to suggest to you, Tony, is that maybe it's a good idea to follow the process all the way through to the end and get Little Nahant done. And one of the things I liked about your description was getting interactive electronic material up on the web page. I think that's a great idea. I'm thinking, without knowing a damn bit about it, that maybe it's possible to access either Google Street View or Google Earth or both from the web page, from the town web page. so that people can really see what is available. And I'm sure that the internal rights of way are important to people who need to use them. But from an overall town standpoint, I think getting all the coastal right of ways finished first, I think would be a way to really get this project to capture the town's imagination and do something that everybody can understand is important. And once we've got that,
think-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I agree with you. I think that third phase is lengthy and unique. Like each right of way comes with a different number of elements and hurdles that you have to
Right.
get through to get them
Right.
reopened and accessible. So that's why we kind of said, the Board of Selectmen feels strongly that there are many rights of ways in the town of Nahant that are accessible now, but the residents of the town of Nahant don't know where they
Right.
are.
Right.
And I have to give the selectmen and specifically Josh Antrim a lot of credit. He did a lot of research on what other communities do, and I think he, really looked at the town of Rockport. And if you go on their website, if you look on their website, there's a great interactive page there that really educate residents about these public properties and where they are and rights to access them. So that's really what, while phase 3 can take a lot of time and can be slow because every single one is so unique, we could continue to make progress on phase 1 and 2 in other parts of town.
Yeah.
That was kind of,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. So I would bring as much of Little Nahant through whatever, however fast you can get through phase 3, and the few that you're going to get stuck on, you want to be able to use that time to get Big Nahant well into phase 1. Okay, because that's essentially bookwork, right? You don't need anybody's approval. You just need to find out what the property lines are and the right traditional rights of way were. And then once you've got that, you can work from there. So that can go on simultaneously, but I would get as much possible done that people in town, as you were saying, Josh noted, are unaware of, up online so people can use it and see what a wonderful resource this actually is.
Yeah, I guess based on what Lynn had said at the beginning, I'd like to double check the language from those previously
Right.
authorized unspent funds and
Mhm.
see if that limits what our goal is here in any way. And if the language on this application or the eventual article needs to be amended. The
Okay.
idea would be to just like the way you just laid that out, that's the general idea of what we're trying to do.
Great.
Yeah. I just did look back in my files to see if I had the articles as written. I actually didn't because I wasn't showing it at that point. But there's not a huge amount left in those funds. There's several $1,000s. It was less than I thought I had remembered. So I do think the implementation is part of the critical part of this application. The other ones I think were really more identification and documentation, but
Mhm.
we'll see. This one actually paves the way for implementation. So I think that makes sense. Other comments from the committee? Tony, we'll let you go back to the party.
Thank you.
Please, please,
My mother will be
please send
very
greetings.
pleased.
Please send greetings from the committee to your mom, please.
I will.
Okay,
I will.
very
Thank
good.
you.
All right, very
Talk to you
good.
soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
So the next up is the town records application. Paul, you're so good at putting these on the screen. Would you
I
mind
can
doing
do
that?
that. I can
Yeah.
do that. All I have to
Okay.
do is find my little thing here. Where is it? Come on up there. All right, so this is town clerk. Records, is this records retention?
Yes, that's right. It's an application for $25,000.
And that should be it, I think.
Right. Actually, that image that you just had is probably the one I want to focus on because that
There
actually
you go.
tells the story. So Diane, yeah, I spoke with Diane earlier today, brief but a telling conversation. This application actually the committee may remember that we did 5 years of records conservation and protection several years ago, 5 different phases. And that really dealt with the town records from 1853 up to the late 1960s. So it was a big slug of this. And these are the vital records. They're births, deaths, marriages, and so on. You can see that from this schedule. But it also includes the town records. These are the meeting minutes from the town meetings. And in fact, those from 1970 to 2022 constitute nearly 2,000 pages of documentation. These records are kept in sleeves and filed in a vault. They are meant for posterity. This process would actually scan, deacidify some of these and actually store them in proper storage. I was somewhat hesitant about this application because it seemed to me more recent material. But I think regardless of who pays for it, this is the kind of thing that really is part of the town's requirement for maintaining public records.
Yeah.
And so with that, I'll just say, it's for 1970 to the present. And I'm curious about the committee's reaction to this application.
Is that word supposed to be de-acidification?
Yes,
Okay,
but
got
they
it.
didn't spell it correctly.
Well, they were consistent.
Yeah, they were.
So, okay, now I know what they're talking about. Got it.
Yeah. Stunned silence. Come on, I need to hear some thoughts.
I'm sorry, Lynn, can you tell us what are they going to do with all these? Are they going to try to preserve the originals? Or are they just going to photograph it or what?
No, let's roll back up into the
Yeah.
application
Okay,
and you'll see, more of the discussion of the process. I did observe that if they actually were initially recorded on acid-free paper, that might be a way of actually safeguarding future documents, so we don't have to do quite so much of this.
it doesn't, I don't know what's here really in this application, to tell you the truth.
Well, you're in it right now.
Yeah, right. Okay,
So that's the proposal that she got from a company that does this kind of work.
co-file in Essex,
Yeah.
Vermont. Okay.
Yeah. And that they
I thought that
actually
was
were,
sorry,
they
Lynn,
were
go ahead.
they were the vendor that worked on the previous set of documents.
Oh, they were, okay.
Right. I thought that that's what this was, that it was, they were estimating this based on the prior contract.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think so. I think that they've given a proposal based on the quantities that Diane gave them.
Okay. Well, does this seem out of scale in terms of what they charged to do the similar kind of work last time, or?
No,
Is
it's consistent. It's probably easier because the other records were actually bound records that actually
Right.
had needed to be opened up and treated. To me, the issue is whether this stuff is old enough. That's what I'm saying. Is this actually constituting historic preservation? Or would the town otherwise need to find another source of money to do this work?
I see. So you're questioning whether this is historic preservation or really just the cost of doing the business
Cost of
that
doing business, yeah.
the town is supposed to do on a day-to-day, year-to-year basis.
Mhm.
Well, let's see. Let's see which one of us is a preservationist who knows about the definition of these terms. I don't think it's Austin. I don't think it's Ellen.
Oh, I think it's Austin. I think it's Austin. I nominate Austin. So no, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
When we look at historic buildings or landscapes and so on,
Right.
the traditional cutoff that is used for the National Register is it has to be at least 50 years old. There are some exceptions that are made for, notable buildings, but it's usually this 50-year cutoff. Gosh, for documents, I don't think the same thing necessarily applies. And I think this is kind of a values judgment on the part of the committee. Is it, I think some argument could be, it has to be done for historic purposes for use in the future. So therefore, it is a matter of, the public records are historic, the day that they're recorded.
Yeah, I think that's a point well taken, Lynn. I mean, a historic building has value which accrues to it over time. But these records are the basis for future history.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if they're gone, the history can't be reproduced.
Others comment on that? I'm writing that basis for future history down. You may be the one to write the article, Paul, actually. Okay. Well, do we have a consensus that this is worth, keeping in our schedule and recommending forward?
Yes, I think I would support that, Lynn. It would be nice to see if the town could find some means to do this for future records annually, digitizing them and storing them properly so that we don't get this backlog again.
Yeah, I think that's a point, Austin. This is a housekeeping effort.
Yeah, I'm with you and Austin on this, that I think part of this project, this proposal, should be a protocol for going forward on a regular basis to keep this stuff safe as it's produced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage them to modify this proposal and include in it a well-documented protocol, either one generated, by the town clerk herself or with the advice of this company, or someone else who's really qualified to come up with something reliable and affordable.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm writing this down. Okay. Well, then I think what we have is a consensus that we'll keep this on the schedule as a viable grant. We're going to suggest to the town clerk that she incorporate an annual care and conservation program, which
Mhm.
may include purchasing acid-free paper so that these records are initially recorded in that kind of fashion. Because she has to keep a record here, send it into the state, it's a process.
Would you
Uh,
like me to get in touch with Diane and talk to her about
Yes,
making
Paula,
this modification? I'll be happy to do that.
yeah, that would be great. I know you've been working with her on meeting notices and so on, so that'd be, we'd appreciate that. We'd
Yes,
appreciate that.
right.
Okay, great. Well, with that, let's just look for a moment at where we are on this schedule
Okay,
of grants. We haven't changed any of these amounts. We are inviting Tony to come back to us with recommendations that may increase these amounts to reflect the public procurement and prevailing rate standards. I don't think it's going to be a huge increase, but I just want to make sure that there's enough money for the applicants to do what they intend to do. And they've put together their grant applications in good faith. Now we've got just the aspect of the town's ownership of the properties and their need to administer according to the public requirements. So scrolling down, Paul,
yeah,
in terms of what we've got is applicants this year, application totals.
all right.
We have $402,000 in requests. Now, that includes, as you'll see in front of you on the screen, $10,000 a year for administrative purposes. That's our Community Preservation Coalition dues. It's also, we help with the printing of the town warrant since we have
Oh,
a
there it
big
is.
part of it. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, stop
Okay.
moving around.
Yep.
Now you keep moving it. So we don't usually spend all of this money and it just goes back into the pot. We should look at potential clawbacks. We did quite a complete sort of set of clawbacks last year, including that memorable 41-cent one. So I'll just take a look if you wish to see what we could actually pull back in this year. And then otherwise, we have 3 bonds to pay off. They're in various stages, but they do constitute a fair amount of money, almost $170,000 worth of obligations. So any questions about what you see so far?
It's almost like a side comment / question. The 2 items that come to mind that I'm not sure, I just want to make sure don't escape our consciousness. One is, I don't think we've heard anything. There was another grant that one of our team had asked about, and I don't think we've heard anything about that, if we would accept a late application. And then the second item is regarding Jim Walsh's presentation about the 40B situation and how does that come into play with our evaluation of grants. So I just didn't want to make sure we didn't lose that because we haven't talked about it, and obviously we haven't seen minutes, so we're not like capturing any things that are like on the bike rack,
Well, I don't think we've had an application. So
Okay.
to my knowledge,
Yeah.
we have not had an application from the person who asked about a late application. I've seen nothing come in. And
Okay.
from that person, nor have I seen anything come in from Jim or specifically the Housing Production Committee, which I can say as a member of it, as one of your representatives on it, it is very much in process. So
Okay.
I suspect, Ellen, that we will be seeing something in the future. We just don't have it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Lynn, can I just speak to Ellen's question for a minute? I see our role in the CPC as advancing the objectives of the CPA, the Community Preservation Act. And we have, to a large extent, been essentially the recipients of proposals, discussing them and acting on them. And even with one of the largest proposals that was made, that for the East Point eminent domain process, we were still relatively, and I don't use this word pejoratively, but I think it's accurate, relatively passive. We were the recipients of proposals. I have a very different approach to take, and I wonder at what time would be appropriate to discuss it, regarding the town housing plan and our vulnerability to 40B projects. And I think it is the intersection of a lot of people's interests institutionally. Would certainly be this housing plan committee that you're on, but it would also be the town planning committee at least, and who knows how many else. And maybe what we should be doing here is taking a more active role along with others who I think want to be active about this and precede the granting season and start looking ahead and having discussions and initiating proposals that may take a great deal of town resources, both financial and political, but take a more active approach than we have in the past. And no criticism is intended there, just to say that I think we have a brief laid out by the Community Preservation Act. And another way to meet that brief is to be more active in the generation of what I think are very important projects regarding all of the things that we are vested to take care of.
An interesting perspective. Thank you, Paul. I'd love to hear others' comments in response to that idea. And that is simply initiating rather than receiving. Anyone else?
Well, I think the question would be then, is it something that we as a committee agree upon unanimously to pursue and initiate, or is it up to individual committee members who have particular interests in following up a particular idea? And how does, so just, I go right to the, how does this actually work? Right.
I think that's a good point. To me, we have funded a grant to the town of Nahant to study this with professional services from 2 consultants. And that then has been expressed in the form of the Housing Production Committee. I think that we should allow them to do their work. I think
Absolutely.
we should respect the process that they're in, and wait to hear what those recommendations are.
What's the timetable for that, Lynn? Do you have any idea?
Yes, I do. I mean, they're on a contract right now. This will be, I don't have it right at the flip of my head, but it's going to be imminent.
Okay, that's great.
They might have 6 more months on this. The process has been, is not, for some committee members, it's not as fast as they want it to be. But I think We're getting some good data. We have a community meeting planned for March 8th. Mark that on your calendars. You
Yeah.
will hear more about the process and the goals. You will not hear solutions. Everybody wants to go right to solving the problem. But I think it's a there are multiple ways of addressing this problem. So I know that we heard from Jim, and we have probably seen other sort of sources of information on this. But dealing with protection there's two ways, it's almost binary. There's two ways of addressing this. One is that we protect ourselves from 40B by, achieving X. But there's another issue that we've learned, which is very simply that 40% of the households in Nahant could be eligible for affordable housing based on their income levels. So this suggests that there's a more widespread need for what might be called lowercase a affordable housing versus uppercase A by the state statute affordable housing. So like they said, I think it's a multi-pronged effort, and I think the committee should do their work. There has been coordination and communication with the planning board, because you're right in saying that's part of it. And zoning is part of the story here.
Yep.
And then there's other sort of committees such as the ad hoc short-term housing committee that was set up by the planning board. So,
Right.
but, I hear what you're saying, Paul. I'm just, by the way, updating our housing reserve because we had no applications this year. So, our housing reserve just bumped up with this year's 10% to $47,282.
Right.
Our funding ability is not huge. And that's what we were at pains to explain to Jim. We just really don't have, big resources, but we have resources such as the money that has gone into the planning grant, as well as the care of our existing housing stock. Can we be creative about partnerships with things like housing trusts? For sure. And that is something that I think we could reach out and learn more about, because there are nonprofit housing trusts that have been operating on the North Shore and beyond that may be resources to the town of Nahant.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think I want to let this group get its work done. I agree with you. I think that's the first step.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we'll see who can get involved in discussion, because it's going to be a town-wide discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So,
Thank you for allowing me that interruption.
oh yeah, no, I think it's, and if there's other initiatives that people want to bring forward.
Yeah.
fine.
Right.
I think at this point, there's kind of a bit of a back order, if you will, of previous grants to the town that haven't been spent. And so we'd like to encourage that. And if there's anything the committee can offer in terms of assisting town hall in some of those efforts, that would be great. I think about the Little Nahant Playground. I think about the town hall improvements and handicapped access to town hall. So there's some of that needs to be dealt with, because otherwise the money is held up. It's tied up.
Yeah.
Yep. So, other points to raise. Ellen, that was a good one. Who else has something that they want to bring up as new business or old business? Okay, not much going on. Now let me look in the chat box. Nothing in the chat box. Austin?
I don't really have anything further. In our next meeting, are we sort of tackling these one at a time as far as, any
Yes.
further discussion on them? Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that and should do that. I really would like to get, Tony's recommendation on those, funding requests related to procurement or to prevailing rates. And so we can sort of organize that. I will modify this chart to include the 10%. Actually, there's actually two categories now that I think about it, because we are short on the historic preservation category as well, aren't we? Gosh, that's a first.
Could I ask a
No, we're
question?
fine. No, we're fine. So, yes, you can, Dave. Just a second. We are fine.
okay.
We've got the town hall records as well as the Nahant Historical Society records.
right.
Okay, great. So Dave, your
Yeah,
question.
I actually put it in the chat, but I'll ask. So my first
Oh, it's
thing
funny. I
is,
just don't see it in the chat. How did,
Oh.
well,
I don't know. Well, at
All
any
right.
rate, so I have a question. We're, sharing the spreadsheet about, the multi-use and your comments. If you look on the top, it's categorized as historic preservation. And I was wondering
oh,
why
that's a
we-
mistake. That's a mistake. Sorry.
Oh,
Great,
okay.
great point. That's just a boo-boo.
Okay. Well,
Thank
'cause we're
you.
go- I brought it up to someone, and so I figured I'd ask. And then I just want to know if you have any questions regarding the follow-up information that I sent for the windscreens, the sunscreens, and the light fixtures.
Mhm. Anyone? Dave, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was walking out there the other day and noticed that there are two good-sized wood poles.
Right.
Are you using those?
No. Those are the one. Those the ones that have been there for 30 or 40 years, I guess. No.
Yeah, they're old. They're there's
Yeah.
old fixtures on one of them.
Right. And if you stand on the courts and you're facing those two poles, the lights will be to the left and to the right of those poles. So it shines evenly on the courts.
Mhm.
But you're okay with the windscreen information and the sunscreen information?
Dave, I'm looking back through my email, and there's only one email from you on February 8th. Was there another?
Yeah, and there's, well, I don't have to look here.
Sure.
I sent you the windscreen cut sheet, the sunscreen cut sheet, and the lights.
Hmm.
Did you?
I
I
have,
haven't seen any of that.
I haven't seen that. I've seen this shade sale, I can't say that quickly.
The
Shade sale hardware kit. Couple of those. Oh, wait a minute. What's anything else at the bottom here? No. I see a lot of pictures, but no, I don't see any information about the lights. I must have missed it.
All right, I'll resend it tonight.
Great, because
and then
I did some research on
I saw that. Solar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean, that's a way to save a lot of money,
Right,
maybe, if it's any good.
right. I think
I mean,
Ellen brought that up about whether or not solar would be the right application for this. So, I was going to suggest that if we have any extra money, why don't we build a dome with a retractable roof?
that was my next question.
Yeah, I just thought that would be good. And
Thank you, Dave.
I mean, that way the entire town cannot like me. So,
No,
But,
no. We're not going to put that in the record.
yeah.
No.
Right, expunge that.
Yeah, and Ellen, I did the research about the reservation system and how people will, how we'll identify and log in. And
Yeah,
so we'll start pushing this out soon and give people they have to register in the system, and they'll be registered
Yep.
by their residents here in town. And so there'll be a cross check on it, and we can customize anything and put any kind of modifications in. And I'm happy to give you a demo if you'd like, for the whole system.
that's really interesting. I mean, if I'd love to see it actually.
Sure.
I think it's really interesting, and if it doesn't necessarily have to be part of this application, I believe you, but I just find it very interesting technically.
Yeah.
And mostly, I think I'm my mind is just jumping around to how does it get rolled out to town to town residents,
Yep.
and how does it get managed by a group or a person or a team who is in close contact with the town, right? Because it's a town-owned property, and
Right.
it would feel strange to have somebody. It might feel strange to have just a group of people who aren't on a kind of a formal committee of some sort managing a town property. I don't know how that's going to work.
No, it'll go through some, and that's what I said last week or 2 weeks ago. It'll go through someone at the town hall. And they,
Okay. I think I missed that. I missed that.
No, it won't be an
Okay.
external. It's an internal,
Great.
checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. Sounds interesting.
Okay. Well, so if there's not anything else on our end, I'm going to sign off, but thank you for everything. And Paul, I'll resend all that information to you.
Yeah, and if you could do some more effective research than I did about solar lights. I mean,
Yeah.
there are some solar lights that claim to have whatever output they have all night long based on daily exposure.
Mhm.
And we're only talking about 2 to 3 hours.
Mhm.
So from that standpoint, it should work. But again,
I'll
I don't know how good they are.
Yeah, I'll keep going. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I don't care. We'll keep sending information your way.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you,
That's
Dave.
much appreciated.
Okay. Well, take good care. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right.
So I'm updating this spreadsheet, correcting some of the kind of glitches in the column and the category column. And then I'm adding in the housing reserve because we have no housing applications. So that means we need to set aside
Right.
10%, just over $47,000 based on our prediction. So that kind of also impacts our grant amounts. So, okay, I'll send this out in a few minutes to everyone. But in the meantime, could I have a motion to, unless there's any other business, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Or a
Second.
second? Okay. Those in favor, Austin,
Aye.
Ellen,
Bye.
Paul,
Aye.
chair says aye. So, okay, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good
So
night, everybody.
we'll sort of do the hard work next week on the grant wrangles. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Bye,
night.
everybody.
Right.